In today's news, land swap at HLSCC to facilitate a medical marijuana farm.
Pari-mutuel legislation on the horizon.
Agri-Wellness Expo to take center stage.
Shipping charges to increase by January 2020.
2 prison guards charged for neglecting Jeffrey Einstein before he committed suicide. And Grammys 2020 nominations causing quite a stir. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages.
Welcome everybody. It is Thursday, November 20th, 2019. My co-host and I just having a beautiful laugh here as we start out today's newscast. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Javon Wilson. As usual, we have lots of news coming your way. Ron, how was your night last night?
It was good. It was good.
What did you do?
Spent some time with the kids at the Learning Center. And of course went home to be the best husband that I could be.
Well, look at
and
you.
Now we're back at work. You know what it is.
I stayed back a little late, working on my show that is coming. For those of you who do not know, Keeping It Candid is coming very soon. So keep your ears and eyes glued to 284 Media. But we have to get into today's news.
Let's get into it. Topping our newscast today, recently Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew Foy, told the House of Assembly during the recent budget address that a land swap was performed with the H. Stout Community College to facilitate the establishment of medical marijuana industry. Additionally, he said that government will be drafting laws to facilitate the production and sale of medical marijuana. He said steps are already being taken to roll out the local production and aspect of all the business. Medical marijuana in the Caribbean is projected to be about $2 billion, and in Latin America, the market is estimated to be worth $14 billion. BVI is moving to tap into this industry and develop to generate millions of dollars in revenue, Premier Foy said, while delivering his budget address at the upcoming budget 2020 fiscal year. Premier Foy believes that come 2020, the government will continue to infrastructural recover and agriculture stations and take significant steps towards establishing the medical marijuana industry. He is projecting potential medium to long-term economic impact from medical marijuana as well as medical schools. These initiatives, he said, are expected to lead to an increased revenue to government, increase private sector activities, including increased employment opportunities, increase disposable income to individual, and increase savings and investment levels in the economy. Premier Foy said he believes economic growth and expansion can be easily predicted once the BVI begins to yield good results from the medical marijuana industry. Now, over the years, many legislators and residents have been calling for the decriminalization and as well as legalization of marijuana. Some have been asking for the BVI to relax its marijuana laws and consider cashing in on the multi-million-dollar industry, which from the sounds of it, Premier Foy is ready to move forward with. However, a few questions come to mind as residents analyze the Premier's recent announcement. One resident asked, how is it that we are moving so quickly at swapping land for medical marijuana when our laws do not support same as yet? Young men are still being locked up for small quantities of marijuana. One person said via blog, aren't we putting the cart before the horse here? Another said, this is just another pipe dream, a different way of growing anything else, like banana. We are not able to develop a true agriculture industry. So what makes you think growing marijuana is any different? One person said, with so many countries tapping into medical marijuana, there could be an oversupply of the product, which will lead to very low prices, making the venture virtually impossible to profit from. What studies were conducted before swapping this land? Now, Jovan, you and I have been discussing
Yes,
the
actively
issue.
following
Yes,
this.
actively following the issue of the decriminalization and medical marijuana in the country. But some of the concerns raised by the residents are very interesting. What are your thoughts?
I think there are legitimate concerns. Once we're getting into a new industry, specifically, we always want to make sure that we do the groundwork. And so I think that's why persons are duly concerned. With marijuana, yes, there are many benefits to reap, and yes, we are far behind when it comes to this topic. But we want to ensure, again, that the foundational mechanism is
Is
in
already
place. We
laid,
have to
yeah.
do the ground research. But I personally feel like maybe there were background conversations already being had.
Okay, perhaps
so
the public was not privy
right,
to them.
Right.
Okay.
So now that it's going to come into the form of legislation, the public will be introduced to that. I know the overseeing minister mentioned that stakeholder consultation will begin soon, as well as feedback will be grabbed from that, of course, to draft the bill, and then that will be brought to the public for consultation as well. So again, it really requires them just coming to the people first before these decisions are being made. But I guess with all things, the government just have to go ahead and do what they have
That's
to do.
true. Well, one of the things that I really appreciate is that consultations are being held. Similarly to the issue of drag racing in the territory, consultations were being held before, and you and I are going to get into another
Right.
very interesting
Yes.
legalization that I'm excited about. But it's really, it's something that we should really be bringing to the forefront, and conversations should be had. What I hope that we would adopt here in the territory is really looking at neighboring countries like Antigua, the U.S. Virgin Islands, other Caribbean countries that have made steps to legalization and decriminalization, and let's just observe and see how it has affected them and their economy, and see if it's worth, and then we can move from
And with
there.
a lot of these new industries too, we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel.
Of course.
Research, like you said, has already been done in the
Yeah.
region. Just look into it, see how that turnover was, and see what we can learn from that, and I guess use the best parts of it and move forward.
Most definitely.
On the tune of legislation, now after years of petitioning,
yes.
the BVI community is now set to explore the possibility of pari-mutuel legislation to legitimize gambling and gaming in the BVI. The overseeing minister, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Whitley, believes that this is a shining example, of how you can take an embedded part of the BVI that some may consider to be negative and turn it into something that is beneficial for all. Listen in.
Decided to have a conversation with the people of the Virgin Islands about pari-mutuel betting, because of course we love horse racing in the Virgin Islands, and most accounts confirm to us that horse racing will not be profitable if we do not pass legislation on pari-mutuel betting. And this, extends as well to the whole concept of gaming, which is something that's taking place in the territory now. And I think it's about time that we regulate it properly so that the government can make something out of it, and that we can also put things in place for persons who may run into trouble and get out of control doing it. So regulation is very much needed. And I think this is a conversation that the people of the Virgin Islands are ready to have. Of course, the government needs additional revenue, and we can put revenue towards education. We can put it towards many special purposes we can put it towards health. It's a lot of different things that we can put the revenue towards. So we can use something that some persons might see as bad and use it for good. So I think this is the way that we should move forward, and I'm grateful that the Premier and the Cabinet is willing to at least have the conversation with the people about this.
You can sense the excitement in his voice now. This was first mentioned on November 14th formally by the governor in his speech from the throne. He said, quote, "Government will put forward legislation to introduce and regulate gaming and the betting industry to provide for the establishment of the Gaming, Gambling and Betting Control Commission." This was further solidified by the Premier, who said it will establish a licensing framework that will avert criminal and illegal activities. families. This new piece of legislation and supporting commission will govern sectors such as horse racing, the cruise industry, among many other areas. Now, Ron, this one has been a long time coming. The president of the Horse Race Association, Mr. Lesmore Smith, specifically, he has been pressing for legislation for the horse racing industry for a very long time because he and many others believe it is an integral part of BVI culture. And rightfully so, Ron. This sport really brings out a diversity of people, not just from the British Virgin Islands, but we attract persons from the USVI, St. Martin, as well as far as from Antigua, and not just persons, but we actually participants for the horse races. So the lucrative aspect of this sport cannot be underestimated any longer. Then there's the gaming aspect. While it is illegal in the territory, there are hundreds known persons who purchase tickets from the USVI as well as Puerto Rico.
Tell me about it, huh?
So there's clearly a healthy appetite for that type of activity here. And when you examine the lottery industry and the amount of revenue it generates for the economy, it's definitely a lot of proof there that, you know, revenue can definitely be generated here in the British Virgin Islands. And then there's an element of casinos. Two things here on. It strengthens the tourism products, which serves as, you know, our bread and our butter. And then tourists, for a very long time, they've been calling for more local engagement and activities. And this is one such way that we could keep some of those tourist dollars in the territory. Now, aside from that, it creates a legitimate avenue for locals to gamble if they so needed to. As usual, I'm sure this will be met with lots of opposition, Ron, because there's a big fragment of the society that still strongly believes, or strongly against, I should say, a lot of these big world strategies penetrating our small, or I would say personal community. And it is a legitimate concern, but as we continue to strategize and come up with new revenue streams, many agree that this is a step in the right direction by the current government. And it's really time for us to start the discussion.
Well, Jovan, I really appreciate this story, and as you know, I'm a horse race enthusiast.
Fanatic.
I absolutely love the sport. As a matter of fact, I spent some time in Trinidad training for about 8 months, training to be a jockey. My weight was perfect. I completed the training.
You're a jack of all trades,
man. Doing it, but news is everything, and news is my focal point. But let me say this. I'm not one to throw away money. And I can understand when you listen to the elders of the community and they speak of the alcohol abuse and they speak of men coming home and, you know, throwing their money away. You can understand where they're coming from. But I must say, for a community that speaks so highly of moving to the next level, pari-mutuel betting, in a sense, really solidifies where your stance is when it comes to the sport. And what I'd really like us to get to the point in this country is where we stop putting stuff into categories and saying, well, this is okay, but this is not okay. Lottery tickets are being sold in the territory non-stop, okay? When you go to the horse race track, gambling takes place, okay? Why don't we present the platform so that it's legalized and persons have a clear and precise and accurate method of doing it, and stop going to the age-old saying that we're a Christian society, and that's fine, but put measures in place. And I really have to applaud the Honorable Premier and the Minister of Education and this administration for at least confronting it and putting it to the forefront. It is needed, it is necessary, and if we're really serious about sporting, the sport of horse racing as it pertains to developing it and really presenting a platform, this is the a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, being able to pull revenue from it, because then the government as well can gain from these type of initiatives. So
Most
definitely we're excited about this one. I think a lot of persons, Ron, are very excited about this because, like we said, it has become an integral part of who we are and the makeup of the BVI
And take,
society.
for example, a simple task like the cruise ships. A lot of people don't understand that the cruise ships, when they leave at a certain time, it is because persons want to enjoy the casino. And because our laws don't provide and support that, the cruise ships have to head back to the ship and they have to head out of our waters between a certain time to accommodate that. So just imagine us deliberately diverting income and traffic to the territory.
That's all they
just
want.
By our
That's all they want. Of course. Viewers, still ahead, Agri Wellness Expo to take center stage and BVI to see increased ocean freight charges effective January 2020. These and more when 284 News returns.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds. the number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
We will live well.
Viewers, welcome back. As efforts continue to promote health and wellness locally, the Virgin Islands community is urged to be serious about their health. Health coach and co-organizer of the Agri Health and Wellness Expo, Ms. Maureen Smith-Creaky, said that taking control of one's health and wellness is the most empowering thing that can be done to promote longevity. Most often, the only time we pay attention to our health is when we become sick, and that is sometimes when we need to change, and it's oftentimes too late. According to Ms. Creaky, one of the many purposes of the Agri Health and Wellness Expo is to provide participants with the necessary tools and information that can assist them with being proactive about their health. The Agri Health and Wellness Expo is not only for adults. We want to see teens and young adults supporting this initiative so that they will be exposed to this information, which will equip them to make the best choices about their health and wellness. We want to train tomorrow's leaders to take charge of their health from today, Ms. Creaky stated. The first ever Agri Health and Wellness Expo will take place on Saturday, November 30th from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Transformation Church International Training Area located at the Wards Building. The expo will feature 6 speakers, all desirous of empowering, educating, and equipping participants with information that will allow them to live their healthiest life. She said, "We encourage the community to support the Agri Health and Wellness Expo as we strive to become a healthier society." Ms. Creaky said the Agri Health and Wellness Expo is aimed at promoting health, wellness, and agriculture. Another example of community-minded individuals coming to the forefront and presenting a platform that persons could, live their best lives.
I think it's so important, especially at this juncture where we're trying to revitalize the agricultural industry, for us to understand the impact of food on our health.
Yes.
We've always heard the saying,
You're big on that, I know.
Yes, make medicine, make food your medicine, and it's really important. A lot of persons are focused on exercise and not realizing that diet is the biggest corrective measure, I believe. So I think once you tap into the organic sources and what's good for you, and stop importing so much food.
So let me ask you this,
Stop
because I know
importing so
you're
much food.
huge on organic and you're huge on cooking and healthy eating. When you have a family of maybe a single parent with about, average 2 or 4 kids, and you're trying to feed your kids. Now, we don't have fast food in the Virgin Islands as, the U.S. Virgin Islands, KFC, McDonald's, but we do have fast food. We got the fried chicken and the junk food.
Right.
What encouragement would you give? What examples would you give of simply incorporating healthy eating into a family? Because a lot of persons would say, well, I can't afford to go and buy the organic stuff. I just prefer to go and buy it in bulk. Or
I believe that's our perspective. To some extent, eating healthier could be a bit more pricey.
True.
But you have to look at the long-term investment that you're making. It's not just about what you're putting into your kids' bodies, no, but how that can benefit them in the long run. So, and even me, when I'm shopping, I compare fresh greens to canned goods, and there's not a big difference in between the two. So a lot of persons
price point wise,
right, they're under the misconception that it's so much more expensive than average, but it just really takes a lot of mindfulness and examining what you're putting into your bodies, your family's bodies. And trust me when I tell you, it really goes a long way. Ron, I was on meat all my life, and I made a diet change a few years ago, and I feel happier, I feel lighter, I feel healthier.
Okay.
And it is as a result of the way I eat now. And
Do you think that there's a culture in, because I visited another Caribbean island just recently this past weekend, and the taxi driver that was taking me around, we pulled up to a fast food, and he was just flabbergasted. He was like, "It's a Sunday. Why is KFC so packed?" Like, he was really annoyed.
That's the
and his son just stopped and gave him his cooked lunch, and he was really annoyed. Do you think it's a level of a change in culture where persons perhaps don't have the time, or they're not making the effort to actually prepare their meals?
I think it comes with a certain level of discipline. Yes, we're living busier lives, but again, it boils back down to being mindful and setting intentions, because I don't like having to cook every single day. It's a task. But what I do is I cook on Sundays and enough food to last me probably up until Wednesday.
Okay.
And so it just really takes a lot of discipline, and I think some of us are just lazy, Ron.
Facts.
Some of us are just
Facts.
lazy. We
Lazy.
become complacent, and that trickles down to our family.
I do agree with that.
Absolutely. Well, viewers, a big ship and shake is coming our way that will see increased surcharges trickling down to you, the customers, as IMO continues to crack down on climate change. Now, IMO, the International Maritime Organization, is the UN agency responsible for ensuring a clean, safe, and efficient global shipping industry. They will be implementing new regulations that will have massive impacts on maritime shipping. The regulations, dubbed IMO 2020, will enforce a 0.5% sulfur emissions cap worldwide starting January 2020, a dramatic decrease from the current emissions cap of 3.5%. Now, here are a few ways marine fuel will likely affect these regulations. First of all, high sulfur fuel will drop in price as the demand drops dramatically after January 1st, 2020. Secondly, diesel, a low sulfur fuel, will be higher in demand and should see a price increase. And thirdly, refiners should also expect higher profits as refining runs increase to satisfy the new regulations. Now, rising fuel costs also means rising freight rates. So as expected, this dramatic fuel regulation will result in an estimated 25% increase on freight charges that, again, you, the customer, will have to pay.
Indeed.
Mr. Goldman Sachs said, quote, in a full compliance scenario, we estimate the total impact to consumer wallets in 2020 to be around $240 billion US. Now, this is not just a US or UK problem. This is a mandatory regulation for all vessels around the world, including the British Virgin Islands. The Premier made mention of it in the last House of Assembly, confirming that the BVI is in the process of getting vessels regulated under the new criteria to meet these international standards. Now, beside the exorbitant price increase, on the flip side, this strategy represents IMO's commitment to fighting climate change. Over 90% of global trade happens on our oceans. As a result, tons of sulfur oxide produced from bunker fuel used by these ships are emitted, causing major environment damages. Now get this, just 15 of the world's largest ships produce more sulfur emissions than all of the cars in the world combined. The sulfur emissions can cause several harmful effects, failures, and many respiratory illnesses such as lung cancer and asthma. Now, for this reason, the Premier is adamant that our local vessels should make the necessary adjustments to strengthen the region and international trade, and another agenda that he has been pushing recently. Now, Ron, I know this one will... this will be a hard pill to swallow, because
of course,
every time I come to work, every time I interact
it's
with
another
persons,
tax.
Listen, and not just that, like, there's already so many complaints about the high prices that we have to pay to ship. I can only imagine the effects on business persons specifically who have to do this in a bulk capacity. But as it is already, prices are so expensive. What are we going to do in January 2020?
I echo the same sentiments. We do a lot of business, as you know, and it's always getting stuff, and it's a hassle. When you look at the cost, and not only for corporations, but for individuals, these small businesses who are supplying on and relying on the passage of goods and services from other Caribbean islands. We
Right.
talk about agriculture. Now, let's just look at agriculture for a second. We talk about agriculture in the Virgin Islands, but a lot of what we do as it pertains to agriculture is importation. A
Right.
lot of what you see, if you walk down the street right now and you go to the
85
market
to
square,
90%?
that is imported produce.
Even coconut water.
What are you saying to the guy that's trying to make the money? Again, another tax. A tax. It's frustrating.
And that money will trickle down to the consumers because whatever they pay, because that's what the shippers are saying. We cannot pay this alone. The environment is everybody's concern. So this money will trickle down to the consumers and what the rates that they have to pay. So this is a concern for everybody involved.
And I want the government of the Virgin Islands to really take a look at the accuracy. And I know we're at a point where we're constantly trying to secure funds and to see where we could add revenue. But this particular scenario comes on the heels of the BVI government, the Honorable Andrew Foy and his administration, implementing the tax for money transfers,
Yes.
which is again going to take place in January of 2020. It's like adding injury to insult.
Some person said,
good
we're
God.
being taxed to death.
Jeez, I'm breathe.
There's
Yeah.
little to no money flowing around anymore, but gosh, we just have to wait and see how it's going to be regulated. I don't see us having any way around it though, because
course
it is
not.
a mandatory law. And once you're on the ocean, you're now
Yeah.
required. So I do agree. And I know like I said, the Premier recently has been touting on the fact that he wants to strengthen his regional and international alliances with
Yes,
trade.
which is important too.
Right, with trading in the region as it relates to imports and exports. So this will definitely be impacted by all of that
Most
as well.
definitely.
Viewers, up next, new updates on the death of millionaire sex offender Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. And we've got all the Grammy updates coming your way. These and more when 284 News returns. When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages. Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Remember Jeffrey Epstein, the millionaire who resided in St. Thomas and was being tried for sex trafficking? Well, he subsequently died as a result of suicide,
Yes.
Ron. Well, now 2 guards who were supposed to be on duty the night he died are now being charged with falsifying prison records. Toval Noel and Michael Thomas were accused of failing to check in on Mr. Epstein every half hour and falsifying documents after saying that they had. Both pleaded not guilty. Investigators believe the 2 fell asleep for several hours before Epstein was found dead from suicide the morning on August 10th, where he was being held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan on sex trafficking charges. He had pleaded not guilty to the charges, but remained incarcerated in the high security unit famous for holding terrorists and drug cartel leaders. Now, on July 23rd, he was placed on suicide watch after being found on the floor of his cell with bruises to the neck, but he was taken off of suicide watch just 1 week before his death. Both guards were working overtime due to staffing shortages. They were both placed on administrative leave while the FBI and Justice Department's Inspector General investigated Epstein's death. They previously rejected a plea deal from prosecutors who wanted them to admit to falsifying the records. Despite the city's medical examiner ruling Epstein's death a suicide, numerous conspiracy theories have sprouted up after his death due to Epstein's connections to prominent men like Britain's Prince Andrew, former President Bill Clinton, and President Donald Trump. Now, on Wednesday, October 30th, a forensic pathologist working for Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark said he believed that Epstein did not die by suicide. Dr. Michael Baden said on the morning show, Fox and Friends, that Mr. Epstein, 66, experienced a number of injuries, that, quote, are extremely unusual in suicide hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation, end of quote. But the indictment unsealed on Tuesday, of course, reported that the surveillance footage shows that no one entered Mr. Epstein's cell around the time of his death. So, Ron, a lot of controversy around this story ever since Mr. Epstein's death. Well, first of all, it rocked the Virgin Islands because he has a property in the Virgin Islands, in St. Thomas. And a lot of persons were really looking to see how this would have unraveled. Then they found him in a cell with marks around his neck. Most persons thought, or I should say a lot of persons thought, that he was probably just trying to kill himself. And then he was on suicide watch. And then 1 week before his death, taken off of suicide watch. A lot of persons are under the perception that he was killed.
Well, Jovan, I think it's first of all, I think it's an ugly story. It's a nasty story. I hate hearing about it. I hate talking about it because it brings to light a lot of social ills and issues that we still face in our society, where persons of power with wealth seem to always get out, in some way. But nevertheless, we'll see what becomes of it.
Let's see.
The Associated Press out of New York released recently the genre-mashing, bold, and chart-topping new artists that have caught the attention of the Recording Academy as Lizzo, Billie Eilish, and Lil Nas X led nominations at the 2020 Grammy Awards. I don't know about you, Jovan, but I absolutely love the Grammys. I don't know about Lizzo, but I love the Grammys in general. And this year is actually a little bit disappointing, but nevertheless, Lizzo is in first place, scoring 8 bids Wednesday for her fun, positive rap style that has made her not only the year's top new act, but arguably the year's most successful musician. She and Eilish were created her best-selling debut album with her brother Finneas at their home studio. Each earned nominations in the top 4 categories: album, song, and record of the year, along with the best new artist. Lil Nas X, who burst onto the musical scene with charts on the country scene, Old Time Road, earned nomination for album, record, and song of the year. YOLO is up for 4 Grammys, including Best New Artist. YOLO is the British country soul singer who scored 4 nominations, said she feels honored to be nominated for Best New Artist alongside Lizzo, Lil Nas X, and Eilish. You just couldn't ignore the contributions that Lizzo brought, or Lil Nas, and the conversation he and I have been opening up about. Obviously, Billie, she said she's killing it. I find it really hard to believe that I was awake, that I was really in the nick of things in such a hard category to get into, she added. Now, rounding up the nominations for Best New Artist are pop singer Maggie Rogers, Spanish artist Rolezia, and New Orleans group Tank, and the Bangas, an Austin-based duo Black Pumas. It's the Grammys. I can't wait to see it, and I'm just disappointed that some of my artists ain't in there. I think that's the problem.
Listen, times have changed. Lizzo is 100.
Times have changed, and music is crap.
No, I don't agree with that. I do agree that, yes, we've lost some of the substance, but listen, I love fresh perspective as in everything else, okay? Including music. But let me tell you something. Lizzo is, she has a tagline, I'm 100% that B. And she is 100% the person for this Grammy.
The way you say it, look like you feel that song too.
Because I am 100% that.
Good stuff.
It's like an anthem for women now.
But what I love about it, and I would say this, and I'm all for it, young millennials breaking barriers.
Yes.
These are all young musicians, professionals within their field, and they're doing
brand new to the scene.
So I can't stand their music, but congratulations.
Grabbing Grammy.
Yes.
Viewers, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like us on Facebook at 284 Media, as well as 284 BVI on Instagram, as well as Twitter. I'm Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news. Have a terrific evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Brilliant Hands and Minds tutoring services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.